Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you're all doing great, as I always say, following the 3 H's of the channel and all that good stuff. And in this video, it's all about things that people have encountered while driving, be it truckers or otherwise driving long distances. There's some pretty weird ones here. So, if that sounds like something that you like, pull up a stump with me, and let's jump into it. Thank you for watching. This happened years ago, way back in high school. Me, a friend of mine, and my then girlfriend all had fake IDs, and we wanted to go have a drink. We finished around 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning, and if you're wondering how much we drank, I think that the three of us shared half a pitcher of beer. We thought we were super cool at the time. So anyways, after we have a meal, we're driving home. My friend is in his car in the front. Me and my girlfriend are in the car in behind. We enter this back road that leads us home eventually. The road is a long stretch that goes on for miles. Upon entering the road, we see this figure standing pretty much in the middle of the road. It looked super tall. If I had to guess, probably somewhere between 6'5" and 6'8". It was waving its arms, and its hands were huge, like the size of a small suitcase, and it's waving its arms, almost like it's trying to block us from getting past. But my friend drives past it, and then I drive past it. My girlfriend looks out the car to see who or what the hell this is. It looks like a tall lady wearing a pink sweater. She looked like she could have been Korean, but her face was all kinds of messed up, missing the bottom half of her jaw. It was hard to explain. Her face just looked real deformed, and it was missing features that would make a face a human face. We passed by her, and we silently WTF to each other. A couple seconds later, my phone rings. It's my friend calling from the car in front of me. He's freaking out. He's like, "Did you see that? What the hell was that, man? Did you see it?" I just say, I don't know what the hell that was. I turned around and looked. The figure didn't bother chasing after us. It just stopped doing the arm waving thing and just stepped back off the road and into the trees. It was probably the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. I haven't seen anything like that before or after that, especially on that back road, but every time I have to take it to go home, I still get really weirded out. What the hell was that thing? This happened in 2013. It was the summer, and it was around midday, 12. I was driving. It was on this long stretch of road. Now, this road ends, and it turns off onto a different one. I have been driving on this road for what felt like forever. Then I realized that the road should have ended 10 minutes ago, but there was no turnoff or anything. And it's not like I can miss it. The road ends where the other one begins, going in a different direction. I know this road inside and out. I should definitely be at the turnoff by now. Suddenly, this fog appears out of nowhere. It seemingly comes out of thin air. It's super thick. The road begins to change color. It becomes brown and bumpy, like I'm now driving on a dirt road. I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? Where did this dirt road come from? And then the fog dissipates. I'm on another paved road, and there's people walking by. It's a residential area. I pull down my window and I ask for directions. I say, "Excuse me, Do you know where the M25 is? I'm kinda lost, I think. This woman says, "What's that?" I say, It's a motorway. I was just on it 5 minutes ago." She says, "That's impossible. There's no motorway near here." I say, okay, and I thank her anyways. I do a U-turn. I keep going for 10 minutes. The dirt road disappears. The fog comes back, and it's like there's like an electrical interference this time. My radio's all screwed up. And then, randomly, the fog dissipates again, but this time, I'm stopped at the intersection where the road ends. I'm super confused. A car horn beeps behind me. A guy yells out, "Where the hell did you come from? Watch where you're going. You weren't there a second ago." It was the weirdest day of my life. I'm still not sure entirely what happened. This happened right around Christmas of 2012. Me and my friend were home from college. We were just hanging out, and it was around 11 p.m. or so. We're driving down some more rural roads that are in the middle of nowhere. We're having a good time, just catching up and laughing and carrying on like we used to. So we go down this road that suddenly turns left. It's an almost 90-degree turn, so it's pretty sharp. Now, it was right around here that it gets pretty weird, but the other detail is that this road goes up a slight hill, and then, as you're going around the turn, there's another turn that you can take on the right. It kind of has a weird shape to it, if you can think of it. So we turned, and we were going up this hill, and then we noticed something at the road that goes to the right on the top of the hill. Me and my friend are like, "What the hell is this?" It ends up being this weird creature. It kind of hopped or leapt with long ass strides on two legs across the road. Then it jumped over this big stone retaining wall and through a thick bush. This thing traveled 40 to 60 feet in like 2 to 4 seconds. It was coming from someone else's yard, I think. The details about the creature, it was hard to describe. We didn't get a long look at it, but it had what looked like a long tail, a bit of a slender body, and some kind of weird pointed face. It looked really weird and disproportionate and bizarre. I know the outdoors, and I don't know any creature like this in our area, especially one that walks on 2 legs. Me and my friend stared and were like, "What the hell?" as soon as it ran off. Months later, I come upstairs and my older brother and his friend were in the living room chatting. I sat down with them with a glass of water and said, "What's up?" They were talking about weird animals and creatures and stuff, and then his friend mentioned that he had seen this weird thing running across the road in that location. Before this, I had never told anybody about my incident. As soon as I heard him mentioning this, I described what I saw before he could describe the creature. His eyes got wide, and he was shocked. He said that that's exactly what him and his friends saw. It was in a different area, but it was maybe 10 minutes drive up the road. If y'all have any ideas, I'm from Connecticut. A few years ago, I was driving from San Antonio to Sioux Falls. Shortly after, I crossed into Nebraska. I drove through a small town. I don't remember the name of the town, but I think the sign said that it had a population of like 3,000 or so. Anyways, I wasn't paying complete attention at first, and it wasn't until I had to stop at a red light that my creepy sensors started going off. There was literally no one in the town. It wasn't some sort of rundown ghost town either. This was a fully functional, typical Midwest podunk town. Now I could have shrugged off the fact that I didn't see anyone around, but as I started to take everything in, I saw that there were cars sitting in the other lanes. They were turned off with no one in them. The creepiest thing was a car in a parking lot of what was probably the town's only grocery store, with all of its doors open, and a cart full of groceries just sitting next to the car, unattended. Across the street from the grocery store was an old Shell gas station, with cars sitting at the stalls. Then I noticed that besides there not being any people in this creepy town, there was zero signs of life. I don't even remember seeing any birds flying in the sky. And the silence. Holy crap, the silence. I probably could have heard a pin drop from a mile away. After what seemed like a ridiculously long red light, the signal finally turned green. I don't even know why I bothered to wait for it to turn green. I think I was just in awe of the creepiness of the situation. When I saw the green light, I just got out of there and didn't look back. It was like everybody dropped what they were doing and everyone just left the town. Or I hope that was the case, because any other explanation probably isn't very pleasant. It also couldn't have been like that for long either. Everything looked fairly recently used, and the cars appeared to be clean and somewhat newish. I can't remember the name. All I can remember is that it was in the bottom right-hand corner of Nebraska. I've had some people tell me that what I experienced was a reality glitch, and if that was the case, and I somehow temporarily switched over into a different reality, what happened to all the people? I'm an over-the-road truck driver, and this happened in 2011. I was hauling a trailer full of automotive glass from Chillicothe, Ohio to Boise, Idaho. I was driving along the I-90 through Montana at around 0300. I was starting to run out of hours to drive on. I had maybe 45 minutes left before I had to stop driving for the night. I couldn't find any nearby truck stops in the directory, and I think, oh great, I'm gonna have to stop on the side of the road again. I see this exit sign a few miles ahead for a small town. It's most likely a ranch access road. I take the off-ramp and I drive across the road, and I park my truck on the side of the ramp. This is illegal to do, but the trooper would probably prefer me sleeping on the side of the road than sleeping in a ditch with the truck mangled all to pieces. So I'm sitting in the truck, typing up several reports into my Qualcomm computer. Suddenly, the GPS gives me an error. Lost satellite signal. The Qualcomm gives an error. Lost satellite signal. The Qualcomm beeps with another error. Signal lost. I think this is a strange coincidence, even though I've never seen the signal loss light come on before. I reset the computer. I go into the sleeper while I'm waiting for it to boot up. The sleeper overhead light shuts off. The low power alarm sounds. This confuses me. The side light in the back dims out and shuts off. I jump into the front of the truck, trying to start the engine because I thought that my battery died. There's no power. The truck won't start. I think, oh, screw me twice. I open the door. I climb down and stand in between the trailer because I have to pee. I haven't seen another vehicle out here in over an hour. I climb back into the truck and shut the door. I reach for my phone to call the dispatch when suddenly I get bombarded with beeps and lights flashing. The Qualcomm turns back on, the interior lights come back on, and the dash light comes on. I turn the key and the engine turns over. In the split second between turning the key on and turning to start, my headlights illuminated the ramp ahead of me. I could have swore that I saw someone or something on the shoulder of the road 100 yards up. When the motor is started and the lights come back on, someone is standing 10 feet from the truck, right in front of me. I scream and jump. I smack my head onto the storage bin above me. I supply air to the brake systems. I hammer the truck into gear and start rolling forward. As I'm rolling forward, I see that it's a very tall man standing on the side of the ramp. He's turning his head to follow me as I drive past him. He's smiling like a Cheshire cat grin, and his eyes are pitch black. I'm shifting as fast as I can. I get up to 62.5 miles per hour in just a few seconds. My truck has a governor. I look in my mirror. I can see this man chasing me on all fours, but in speeding up, I quickly lose him. I park at a truck stop an hour away. I don't know what that was. I don't know if it was paranormal or if it was a person planning on doing Lord knows what to me, but it was still super creepy. And that's also how I received my first safety violation from the Department of Transportation. My workout partner was a trucker for a little over or under 16 years. He started out in that line of work straight out of high school. Needless to say, he's told me some pretty strange stories during the few years that I've known him. He said he never would have brought this topic up if I hadn't told him about some of the things that I'd seen on the road during college, driving back and forth on the weekend. So at the time of this first one, he's hauling inventory for his current employer. He drives the same route every night, 2 hours there, 2 hours back. It's 12-hour shifts. 3 loads are hauled each night. My friend finishes the last haul and gets back to the distribution hub. The traffic was good that night. He gets back 45 minutes early. Since he can't haul anything in that time, he gets to go home early, and he can't wait. As he's getting out of the truck, a supervisor approaches. They say they have one more load to haul. It must be there by 6:30 a.m. My friend tells him that there's no way. That's a 2-hour drive, and he's only got 45 minutes to make the trip. The supervisor says he understands, but he needs him to leave immediately. The recipient of a haul is apparently raising hell because the order was missed earlier. My friend's upset now, but he picks up the load and begins the journey. 30 minutes into the trip, he gets on the radio and confirms with the supervisor that this is BS. The supervisor is still apologetic to him and offers him a significant amount of money to get there. My friend says he remembers his GPS had his arrival time at 7:39 a.m. The last thing he remembers is suddenly seeing something on the road, something shadowy with long arms. Then he comes to, 10 minutes away from his destination, with no recollection of how he got there. The clock says 6:17 a.m. He's early. He radios to dispatch and confirms that the tracker on his truck indicates that he's less than 10 miles out from the drop-off. The dispatch wants to know how. The friend says that he wants to know how. He doesn't know what happened. He looks at the GPS, where it resets every trip to track mileage and info. It says that A top speed of 167 miles per hour was reached. My friend drops off the load and heads home. He was praised by both sides for being early, but everyone wants to know how he did it. He has no clue. Eventually, he showed me the GPS at the top speed. He says that he'll never clear that trip off the GPS. It's such an anomaly. He still has no idea what the hell happened or what he saw on the road. He's made that trip every night for 2 years. There's absolutely no way that he made the journey in less than 45 minutes. He had a supervisor show him the route that the truck's tracker indicated that he took. 30 minutes into the journey, right around the time that he saw whatever it was on the road and had just got done talking to the supervisor, the radar blip disappears. This wasn't unusual on cloudy days. Sometimes the equipment simply doesn't function correctly. However, when his blip reappeared, he was 10 minutes from his destination. My friend doesn't seem too worried about it, but I'm just thinking about what the hell that was on the road and if it did anything to him. And one other story that he has, this is the same guy. He was up north and just finished dropping off a load. The snow was terrible. There was a total blizzard, and it was around 2 a.m. when my friend began his trip home. It took over an hour for the receiver to unload the trailer contents. The roads in the city were terrible. The highway was worse. My friend believes that he was the first person back on the highway, as there were no tire tracks in the snow-covered road. He can't see any signs of where the roadside begins or ends. He's super tired, but starts home anyways. The highway is pretty much just a straight stretch. He uses the rumble strips to tell when he's gone too far right or too far left. He said that he did 55 miles per hour the entire time on the highway. This alone freaked me out, but he said that he had just waited until he felt the vibrations, and then he would adjust accordingly. My friend eventually ends up on some back roads that he used for his way up. The roads aren't as bad off as the main highway. Some of them have tree cover and stuff. The snow is just starting to stick. He notices that if he really focuses on the road, he can make out each side. He's paying such attention to the sides of the road that he almost runs through a four-way intersection. He catches himself though and begins to slow down. He was checking for oncoming cars and was going to continue to slowly cruise through if there were none. He told me to never stop in snow like that. You'll get stuck. Just keep rolling slowly forward. As his lights illuminate the intersection, something isn't right. Someone or something is standing in the middle of the intersection. He can't make them out due to the heavy snowfall. My friend says that he'd seen enough weird shit at this point to think to himself, oh boy, here we go. As he nears, he's able to make out the figure to be an elderly man in a pair of tighty-whities. The man has his back to the approaching truck and doesn't turn around, even though the sound of the engine would be enough to alert anyone of my friend's arrival. He said that you could clearly see the outline of the old man's spine and other bones protruding from beneath his leathery skin as well. He thinks that it was some poor old man suffering from late-stage Alzheimer's that had wandered out of the safety of his home during a snowstorm and had gotten lost. He grabs for his phone while pulling up alongside the old man. You can tell from this angle that he has his arms crossed in front of his chest and appears to be shivering. He rolls down his window as he comes to a stop and tells the man that he's there to help. My friend said that just as his hand touched the handle of his door to open it, The man immediately turns around to face him, and he knew it was time to leave. My friend said the guy had 2 black eyes, not like the creepy children though, but like he had been punched in both of his eyes and the bruises had given enough time to blacken. He also said that the guy's mouth was a black pit that stretched across the entirety of the lower half of his face. He said that it appeared to run all the way up to the bottom of his nose and all the way down to what would be the bottom of a normal person's chin. From that moment that the thing began to turn around, my friend said that he could tell it was screaming. But what was odd was that he didn't actually hear the scream until he had finished rotating his head and was looking directly at him. He described it as the most bone-chilling thing that he has ever heard. We do a lot of hunting where we are from, and you'll occasionally run across a bobcat screaming in the woods. He said it was something akin to that, but so much more. He had no words strong enough to describe it. He instead goes to leave, and as he's drifting through the intersection, this old man begins to chase after him, using these weird, erratic movements, and he could see in the mirror the image of that black pit of a mouth chasing after him. He knew that it wasn't human. So, what'd you think of those? Let me know which one was your favorite one down in the comments. In the description below is a PayPal and a Patreon that you can donate to the channel if you would want to. Obviously, no pressure though, just watching the video helps too. And a couple years ago I used to work as a receiver at a store, and I used to talk to the truck drivers a lot, especially at night. And every now and then we'd talk about the highway that goes in between where he was coming from and the store. It's about a 45-minute drive on a highway that has some massive potholes and it's just not in real good shape. However, it's also very heavily wooded and there's not really any houses, so it's just woods for forever, pretty much, just dense forest. And one story in particular that I was told was he was coming from another store, which is about an hour away, and he had to go through this area. So it's all super dense forest and it's super dark at night too. There's no street lights or anything. And he's driving along and he sees flashing lights up in the distance. And as he gets up to the area, there's like the smoke of exhaust and all that stuff. And there is another truck that is completely totaled and it's off the side of the road. And there's like a fire truck, a cop car, and the rescue unit. Now, he goes to get out to see if everything is okay and to see what happened because they're blocking off the road. So he slows down, pulls off the side of the road, and as soon as he gets out of the truck and gets down onto the pavement and goes over to help or to find out what's going on, there's nobody around. There's no truck, there's no fire truck, there's no ambulance, there's no cop car, there's no rescue unit, there's no nothing. He's just alone on the highway. He thought this was really weird, and the only sound that he can hear is the sound of his own engine. So he quickly gets up in the cab again and takes off at the speed that he's allowed to go to because it has a governor on it. And then when he got to the store that I was working at, he was pretty pale, and I asked him what was going on, and that's what he told me. It's not out of the ordinary to hear stories like that around this highway. I would know, I live on that highway. But anyways, yeah. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you're new to the channel, I'll put up the other video on driving stories that I did last year. And with that, I thank you for pulling up a stump, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.